Welcome to the Get Offset podcast. My name is Andrew.
And I'm Emily.
And we are a podcast that tries to offset gear culture.
Offset the status quo of gear culture. That's what it says. Not on my business card, probably, but in a couple places.
It might say that on the website.
It probably does.
I don't know.
Yeah, but people still just mostly tag us in offset guitars pictures, which is funny.
We do get tagged in a lot, which I honestly have zero complaints about because I get a lot of eye candy in the feed.
They're pretty nice.
It is.
It's really nice. It's nice that people are thinking of us.
I saw one the other day. It was a build with, I forget who it was, but the wood was Black Limba or Black Karina and the figure on that was just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh, it's nice. But today we have a kind of a special episode planned.
We do.
Yeah. Instead of us picking a topic, we reached out to our super secret Patreon group chat and asked them to submit some topics, and we're going to talk about those.
That sounds like a plan, and I'm very excited. I'll be bringing some very honest, unfiltered hot takes this episode.
Really?
Which really means I'm gonna hear a question. I'm gonna think about it for a second, but I am choosing right now in this moment to be a little more unfiltered than I tend to be.
Yeah, because last week
I tend to be a little extra reserved, and I think
last week you were like, "I'm not going to be political."
Last week
I'm like, "I'm going to be political. Politics is life. Life politics." I got really angry last week.
Well, I'm glad you have faith in our political system.
I don't. That's why I'm political.
That makes one of us. So
that's what. Wow. Okay. No, I don't have any faith in the political system, but that's why I'm voting the way that I'm voting. Because if I don't have faith in that, then why do we live? Why? You gotta try. On that note, that's a strong start.
I will do. I am choosing right now in this moment. It's gonna be like spicier takes than normal for me, and granted, that's like a little bit spicier than mayonnaise, but still, like.
Have you ever put like hot sauce in mayonnaise?
Yeah. Who doesn't?
Yeah. Today cowards. So I do some freelance work with a company called Secret Aardvark Hot Sauce because I love their product. If you can get your hands on some Secret Aardvark Hot Sauce, try it. For a while, they had a spicy mayo that, because of kind of issues with the co-packer, they are not currently making that. But I still have a bottle in my fridge, and I use it for one thing. I use it when I'm grilling a sandwich in the griddle. Instead of putting butter or olive oil on the bread, I put the spicy mayo, and because it gets that better crunch to it, and then it has that just nice little kick. Because I'm not the person who likes to slather mayonnaise on things, but that is like
I'm not either.
I like it on French fries. I'll slather it on French fries, but on like I made a grilled a turkey and cheese sandwich on sourdough for lunch, and I used the spicy mayo, and it was this week's episode is brought to you by Chef's Kiss. I can't wait to hear how that sounds on a mic.
Chef's Kiss, better way to go. Is that Pet Boys?
I
think that's the Pet Boys jingle.
I don't think it is.
Oh, no, Car Toys. Car Toys.
What the hell
it's
is
a Car Toys jingle.
Is that place on Aurora?
I have no idea where the locations are. I just hear I hear the ads on the radio, and it's based on what I've heard, it sounds like really cheap aftermarket additions to your car that you can like DIY, so that way the dealership doesn't charge you like however much for a rear view camera.
I think I drive by them when I go from the Costco.
All I know is the jingle's really irritating because it does get stuck in my head.
Yeah, well, then it's a good jingle.
And I just subconsciously thought in my head, what jingle could I parody? And without even thinking of what the company was, I just jumped into that one. So it's kind of a problem. I really should seek help.
Yeah, just listen to something else. Listen to some Kesha or something. Get it out of there.
Oh my God. You know, it's funny. My coworker is singing Africa this morning, like coming it to, I'm like, it's stuck in my head. And he's like, what are you going to do about it? He's like,
Shakira song?
Listen to Kesha. No, Africa by Toto.
That song. Oh, it's a terrible song.
It's like immediately stuck in my head. Or
Can
should I
we
say
just
Afro?
stop ironically? Sorry, in 2020, can we stop ironically liking songs?
Okay, yeah, but Weezer did such a great job with that song. In real talk, though, I do really,
This is why I'm drinking a gin and tonic
I
right now.
really do dig mid 2000s Kesha, and I did turn around and I listened to TikTok and bumped it really loud, and it was a good time.
Kesha, I've liked everything she's put out. I haven't had time to listen to the new record, but I really loved Rainbows. That her last record.
I listened to bits and pieces of it.
It got that song "Woman" on it. That song "Woman" is a bop. Oh, I'm a mother. Nah, I can't sing that on the
Probably
radio.
shouldn't, but
That was a single too.
FWU for trying. That's the radio
Okay.
queen.
All right, bad baby.
Oh no, now
Bad
now you've
baby.
gone too far. No, I'm not even.
What are you drinking? Okay, I'm gonna ask you 2 questions this week under the guise that you then turned around and asked them to me also, because you didn't do that one week and it made me kind of sad. What are you drinking this week?
I am drinking a vanilla stout from Ecliptic Brewing. This is specifically a dry Irish style stout with vanilla. So it's kind of just like a vanilla milkshakey Guinness. And honestly, this is quite
I was about
nice.
to say that sounds like dessert. Sounds like dessert.
It's not overly sweet, but yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a vanilla Guinness. It's kind of like it reminds me of like the one time I tried a Guinness float, which actually works phenomenally well.
Yeah, I would believe that would work really well.
Those flavors just perfect. So this is just straight out of the can. This is pretty stinking delightful.
Oh, nice.
It's not overly sweet. It's got the really nice dry finish. It's not overly carbonated, which I tend to like out of my darker beers. And it's got that nice roasty, lingering flavor that's going to stick around for a while. Vanilla just like tames it just a little bit, and it's yeah. But not to get too far into the weeds. What's question number 2?
Well, you're supposed to ask me what I'm drinking. That was the one stipulation.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a gin and tonic with the last of that very floral gin I bought last time I was in Portland.
And which gin was that?
You know what?
You don't even know what you're drinking.
I will put it in the show notes. Hold on, let me. Portland, Oregon.
Hey, Andrew, ask me what I'm drinking. Oh, wait, I don't know what in the world I'm drinking. Whoops. Come on.
You're really mean.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Don't be so mean to me. Jesus. That was really hard. I just asked you what was new in your episode, and you did it. It's freelance. And you didn't ask me what was new with me, and I had things to talk about. I didn't get to talk about them.
I, in all fairness, did say I was committing to being a little bit more unfiltered this episode. So you knew it had to happen at some point.
It's the Freeland Spirits Geneva gin. I just forgot which of their gins it was, but it's a pink bottle, and it is herby, floral, sprucey. It's quite nice. It's really nice, unlike you. You're really mean.
So like herby, fully loaded.
So yesterday, speaking of really mean, and I felt like awful. I was just so confused. Last night, I went to the guitar store on Aurora. It's called the Guitar Store, friends. And I walked because I wanted to trade in some pedals that I, was tired of trying to sell on Reverb for either an Enzo or an SY1. And I walk in the door, and there's one man talking to another man, and the guy sees me, and he just says like, "Oh, and there she is, and she comments on all your videos." And I couldn't really understand what he was saying. I thought that he was joking. I thought he was like ribbing me because I thought he was in the middle of a conversation. Sometimes like someone will be having a conversation with someone else, and you kind of walk up and they kind of rib you or try to pull you into the conversation that was happening, and you're just really confused.
Speaking of the devil, there's that person I didn't want to see today.
Like I thought he was like screwing with me, like in kind of a friendly way, and it was and then I'm like, "What?" And I was like, I thought that he was saying that I comment on
You
I
punched
follow the
him.
guitar store on no,
Did you
I
punch him?
follow the guitar store on Facebook, and sometimes I do comment on their things, and I thought that he was, like, making it like, recognize me from commenting on their stuff, or, like, I have no idea what I thought this guy was talking about, and then I realized he was like, "Oh, I comment on your videos." He watches Get Offset videos, and I felt like such an asshole later when I connected. I'm
Aw.
like, "Oh, man, I should have, like I wish I 'cause, we're not famous people, you and I. So being recognized is, like, weird and new, but it literally
I don't know. Several of the voices inside my head know my name. I would say that's pretty famous.
and I just feel like every time I've been recognized, it has been at the guitar store. That is the place, that is the one place where I get recognized more than any other place.
Maybe I should go shopping there more often.
Maybe you should, because people like, the people who go there, they know, and they love pedals because the guitar store has, like, the best selection of pedals in Seattle, or if not the Pacific
They do have a
Northwest.
really phenomenal.
Oh, it's
You know,
amazing.
that's actually where I played. I think that's where I played the Enzo for the first time.
Yeah, it's probably because it's one of the places that has it. Yeah, and that's where I saw Nick Reinhardt and Juan when they were in town
Yep, yep.
for their demo thing, and they were just so sweet. And yeah, so that was that was a digression. So my question for you is, what's new with you?
What's new with me? Let's see here. I've told you about the bass. We had a little bit of sunshine over the weekend, and I got my Jennings out to get a couple of photos. Very excited with how those turned out. Uh,
Beautiful photos. It photographs really well.
I am. It honestly is almost difficult to photograph because of how I cannot express how vibrant this shade of orange is, and I'm not sure my camera knows what to do with it. It's actually kind of fun. Um, so I've got that going, and when I had the cremas original, the Lambertones cremas originally, I had them in an Ibanez like double cut with a maple top style guitar, and I pulled it out of those pickups out of that guitar for this build because I thought they would go really well with this guitar. And I dropped a set of Seymour Duncan hot rodded humbuckers in it. And I was like, well, that means I'll have two. They're very different voiced sets of humbuckers, but that means I'll have two HH layout guitars. And so, what am I going to do with that? Do I want them to both be standard tuning or what? And I decided that I'm going to throw heavy strings on it. I'm going to tune it to drop C, and I'm going to probably relearn some of my old band songs, and start playing a little bit heavier stuff on that guitar. So I
Nice.
excited for that. I just bought a nut file set off of Amazon for like $10. So we'll see how terrible that ends up being. Hoping it's like just passable enough for me to widen the slots on this nut for the wide strings. And then, what strings did I get?
I've had Andrew, I have that exact kit. I'm positive. I have that exact filing kit because I also bought on Amazon because I need to file a new fret for a new nut for my Alamo Fiesta.
And
But I'm sure I have the exact same kit.
I got the Ernie Ball Not Even Slinky set because that's what they had at the shop when I went the other day. I figured for $5 I can at least slot it for some heavier strings and go from there. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
order some specialty heavier strings from online.
Cool.
So
Nice.
excited for that project.
Well, maybe someone that we know in Nashville can hook us up. I need to send that person some coffee. Scott from Stringjoy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Oh,
I'm
I
gonna
would
do that
not
right
hate
now.
a couple sets of heavy strings from Scott. Oh,
Yeah.
unrelated. I'm planning out pedal board on using an IKEA cutting board, and I had a bunch of SB400 ends, cable connectors that I was going to use for this project that I bought a while ago, and I had them in a bag somewhere. Last time I saw them was before I moved to this new place, and I, for the life of me, can only find 2 of them, and I had like 12. And I'm super bummed because the tightness of this board build won't work with just standard pancakes. I really need the SB400s, and I'm super upset with myself because I'm like, I don't want to go have to spend like another like $100 or whatever for another round of
I
connectors.
get that.
If I already have, I've got them somewhere, but I don't think it's with my music equipment because I just went through every single box that I have, including I've got like all of my pedal boxes are in like a dedicated like giant Tupperware, not Tupperware, like Rubbermaid bin out in the garage. Went through every single one of those boxes. Well, I cannot find it. I don't know where I put them, and it's killing me. So at this point in time, that particular board build is on halt, which is a little sad. But I'll probably give it another week before I cave in and try and find some scratch to order some more connectors.
I'm sure we have friends who can help us find you some more connectors.
I know a few people.
Yeah, maybe. I hope I see some of these people tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah, so you'll everyone's listening to this next week, but on the day before Valentine's Day, my band is playing free in store at Sonic Boom Records. It's a free in store paired with so initially like we thought that we would be releasing our album on Valentine's Day, so we set up this in store months ago, and then ultimately we didn't like the record contract that we were asked to sign because it was various reasons. It was vague and we didn't feel like the label had faith in us, and that's when you shouldn't sign a record contract. I've watched enough Behind the Music and also studied music business, so I was like, I don't think we should do this, friends.
I've just watched enough episodes of American Idol to know that that's also a bad record deal.
Yeah.
So that's, I would say
Yeah,
I'm pretty
so
savvy on these things.
we had the date, but we weren't releasing a record. So we asked Mike, who runs and owns Sonic Boom, how about we do something Valentine's Day themed instead? So we decided we're called Sunday Crush. Let's do something called Sundating. So we decided to run a pansexual speed dating. So if you don't know what pansexual is, it means you're just attracted to a person regardless of gender. We and this is funny that we picked pan dating because we knew we would need fewer signups. That was part of it. We didn't want to need as many signups. But we didn't come with the realization that with normal like heterosexual speed dating, you have the men and you have the women, and then they just kind of like rotate in a very linear fashion. With pansexual speed dating, everyone is supposed to meet with everybody. So if you have 5 rounds, you have 6 people. So in one of the rounds, our participant number 1 dates participant number 2. In the next round, participant number 1 dates 3, and 1 4, 1 5, 1 6. So everybody has to meet everybody. So you do need fewer people, but then you have to actually make sure that you're organizing it. It's like a round robin tournament, and like I don't think it's actually like a round robin tournament, but it reminds me of that where everyone kind of has to play everybody. Um, so that is
That sounds like the
yeah,
logistical equivalent of Twister.
right. Maybe not. And then afterwards, we're doing an actual just a free in store, and I think Albie and maybe Sean Crawford, both from Sinusoid, are talking about maybe coming down for that. So that would be a lot of fun. I hope to see them.
Dope,
Yeah.
dope.
Though, yeah. So that is the first of the 3 shows. I'm also playing a show on Valentine's Day at Connor Byrne, and I'm playing on Saturday in Portland. So I'm a little busy.
Just a little bit. I'm about to be sort of the opposite. We've got some friends visiting from out of town, so I'll be taking some time off of the day job and disappearing to the middle of nowhere to do some hiking and some fun stuff.
Nice.
So I'll have a short break from real life. It'll be good.
That will be good. Yes. Yeah, so
So
I bought an SY1. I didn't get the Enzo because I didn't have one. I was really sad because I was really set on an Enzo. But the SY1 is my boss
but
so super duper intuitive and just sounds really good. I'm like, I got it. Like he handed it to me. I'm like, well, I really wanted to try an Enzo, and I'm plugging it in. I'm like trying to dial it in, and then once I kind of figure out, I'm like, I really like this. I know exactly how I'm going to use this with Sunday Crush.
that's good. I man, part of me wants to reevaluate my little baseboard I've got going right now, but I'm gonna hold on to the synth pedals I've got right now for my board and go from there. But the SY1 and the Enza both sound super phenomenal, and I'm kind of just hitting one of those like full on gas moments of I just want everything and I want to hook up every single synth pedal available on a board and be like, cool, that's my bass board. Not necessary, but
that would be insane, and I would like to hear
no,
that.
you wouldn't. It would be terrible. I just turn them all on at once.
I mean, I think, but we should do a video of you doing. How many synth pedals do you have?
So I really only have one like true synth pedal. That's the Data Corruptors, the PLL synth. But I also have the DoD Meatbox reissue, which is a sub synth, which can get some pretty crazy sounds. And combined, I've also got a rat on the board. So if I do like the Meatbox and a rat into each other, I mean that's ooey gooey, nasty ripping synth sound on bass.
Ooey gooey.
Gotta say, ooey gooey ripping bass. I think that's gonna have to be the title of my next EP.
Oh, I am not naming the episode that. That's disgusting.
I mean, it would get Ryan Burke to ask, "Does it drip?"
Ew! Oh, just the visualization.
No, it doesn't need a visualization. Just don't. If you're listening to this, do not visualize a dripping ooey gooey ripping synth. I mean, just get that picture out of your head. Listen to Kesha. It will get it out of your head.
Do not visualize the drip. I'm sorry, that was.
But does it drip?
That was a reference to Runaway Bride. Visualize.
Drip, drop.
Oh my
drip,
god.
Drippity drop.
I'm sorry, that show. I liked Empire for a long time, and now I don't like Empire. Like I just it got to be too, it wasn't ever it was like I love that like modern take on a soap opera kind of thing, but like it gets to the point where like as a musician you're like, I just am really upset by how like I'm sorry, you can't record that song in prison. It's like this TV show Nashville was the same way in a lot of, but I liked Nashville. I watched it till the end because I'm bad at quitting shows. But like, I'm like, you don't walk out of Fido coffee shop and then get coffee from someone selling it at a street cart. That's not how Nashville works. What is wrong with you? You do not get pissed at your girlfriend in the Gulch and walk to East Nashville. You don't do that. Nobody does that. You'll get killed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't entirely blame you for. I don't entirely blame you for not liking Empire so much, but I mean, don't beat yourself up over it.
The song's catchy. I liked a lot of the songs.
Sorry, that was a Jesse joke. Couldn't help it.
Don't beat yourself up.
Forward.
Oh, that was good. I'm gonna be honest. That was good. That's pretty good.
That's definitely one of those headlines. Like, come on, that's got to be satire. That didn't act.
Happened.
Oh my! That actually
that was
really?
Weird. I know.
No, come on.
That was bad. We digress. Let's thank our sponsors. Are we ready for that?
Sponsors. Get ready to rumble with our sponsors.
Jesus Christ, that was just clipping. That's all that was. I'm going to just edit in. I'm just going to edit in for what you just said. I'm going to go in.
I'm looking at the waveform and I can just see the ceiling of where that just clipped. Like it's a flat ceiling scrolling across my screen as we record this.
Like it. Today's episode is sponsored by Boss, which is something that I do like.
Yep.
I have for a while had the MD200 by Boss, and it's taken me a minute to do a demo for it because it's just so much. There's something like 11 different modulation settings. You have chorus, your standard, probably a CE2 style chorus, a CE1 style chorus. You have a flanger. You have a phaser. You have a vintage phaser that you can have add distortion to it. You have a classic vibe. You have vibrato. You have a tremolo, and that is like a standard volume drop tremolo, and then a panning tremolo. So you have like a PN2 and a TR, whichever number that is, in one thing. Then you have a rotary, you have an auto wah, you have a slicer, and you have overtones. And it's only like $300, and you get all of that. Those are all effects you never use together. And you can have up to 4 presets in the box, more if you use MIDI, and then technically 5 if you have it set to like the manual settings. Oh gosh, it's such a cool pedal. It took me. I released
And
a demo of it on. I'll be releasing it on Valentine's Day, so it's out there. It's 43 minutes long, but it has timestamps. I couldn't get around making it 40 like that long. I would have had to have just not gone through everything.
in the words of Andy Samberg, like a boss.
Yes. So Boss makes great pedals. They sponsor the show, and I'm still paying for their stuff because I like them that much.
Reasonable.
Reasonable. There's a reason that they are basically, in my mind, they've always been the gold standard of pedal companies.
I would completely agree.
Yeah. Cool. Are we gonna jump into topics?
We should probably jump into the topics.
All
All right, so why don't we do this? You read the topic, and it's time for me to unleash full unfiltered mayhem.
All right.
This is definitely going to be where I overpromise and underdeliver, but for the moment, suspend your disbelief and imagine that I'm about to deliver full unfiltered mayhem. Cool?
All right, cool. So Joe Braga wants to talk about boundaries with bandmates. For the example she gave was your bandmate messaging you all day while you're at work.
Yep.
So what's your take on that?
Leave them on read. Leave them on read. And when they get upset, that's completely on them for getting upset.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're at work. You should not have to defend yourself. You should not have to explain that. I mean, your day job is your day job. I mean, even if you're making money with your side gig, which kudos if you are, like mad props. Even with that in mind, like you got to have your priorities in life. And if your day job is what's raking in the dough and helping you pay rent, at some point you got to say, look, this is not the time to reach out to me. You can reach me from this time to this time.
And if they stop, then they're great, no problem. But if they keep going, like mute them. Just mute them. And tell them like, here's the thing, like you can't keep doing this. I can't jeopardize my livelihood. And I know it's your bandmate. Your bandmates, like if your bandmates aren't your like also kind of your friends, like that sucks. I'm sorry. That really does suck. But they have to have respect for you and what you do. And if they're not going to respect you in your personal life, what makes you think they're going to respect you in the band setting also? So that's something you also have to think about, because it's all like, these are all our relationships. I mean, I don't know. I've been in bands where we are texting each other all day constantly, and I love that. I've been in bands where I hated it, and I quit those bands, honestly, because I didn't jive with the people, or there were some boundary issues. I actually haven't had like a major boundary issue situation, but there have been, if it's like a personality difference, or I think I almost think that the worst things ever happened to me in a band situation, other than not getting paid, was such a difference in rehearsal. What's the word? Like just buckling down and doing it. Like I love hanging out. I really love hanging out, but we're at rehearsal to rehearse in my time.
Wait. I got a new delay pedal. Let me check it out real quick.
Whoa,
hold on.
Yes, you're clipping really badly. Look at that.
Sorry.
You gotta back up on the mic, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll back up.
No, that was more like, let's just talk instead of playing for 20 minutes. Or if one person, like if I'm working trying to like figure out a harmony with the singer, he would be like the bassist would just turn around to start banging on the piano that was next to him. Like, whoa, you need to calm down. You need to you need to shut the
Wow,
hell up.
this question and response has definitely
I
evolved
know.
quite a bit.
It wasn't, she started with boundaries, but she's also generally talked about like the dynamics. So in the end, like, don't feel like you have to like you don't feel like you have to like stay in a band with people who are driving you nuts, because if they're driving you nuts, like when you're not around them, then imagine getting in a van and going on tour with them. Will you want to murder them? Might you murder them? Maybe you shouldn't be in that band. Or maybe you shouldn't be in a band with that person.
The answer is probably yes to one of those two questions. Which one is up for debate, but
Yeah. I mean,
leave that to the imagination and to the coroner.
I feel really
So,
lucky with Sunday Crush. I love all those individuals. We really do enjoy the travel gigs because we just enjoy each other's company and hanging out. But also, like, if I'm an ambivert, so sometimes I'll be out and like when I hang out, sometimes I'm a stone cold introvert, and if need to go like decompress in the van between like before we go on, then they are fine with that. They get it that it's we have personalities, and I think that there's this mutual respect we have for each other, and part of that is bound as boundaries. And I'm the kind of person that's like, I will assume people want more boundaries than they necessarily do, even in my friendships. Like, I don't pry on friends' romantic lives, and I don't really want to pry in anybody's life. Like, and tell people like, hey, if you want to share more with me, or if you feel comfortable with that, that's great. I don't want you to take my fear of seeing like a busybody, make it seem like I don't care about your life, because I do. Um, that's kind of a tangent, but that's me. Tangents. Uh,
all right, next question.
Um, this was from Noah, and he had okay. So, firstly, thank you, Noah. Noah actually took all the questions that people had asked in the group chat and then put them in, like, made a list of them, so we didn't have to keep scrolling. But this was Noah's question. I remember.
They did, and I totally screenshotted
I
that
love
and reading
Noah.
through it.
Dealing with surprise gig situations slash people. I think he basically said, like, at what point in things like going wrong or unexpected at a gig that you showed up to would you leave, or how would you deal with that? Good
Ooh.
question.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, completely unfiltered. I part of me wants to say you don't need that kind of negativity in your life, and just like if it starts becoming an issue, just bounce. Flip side of that, being a diva also not well looked on, and I think there's definitely a dynamic of that you have to factor in how things look are almost as important as how things actually are, and you don't want it, especially in like a smaller community, you don't want to wreck your reputation. So I think I would lean towards the direction of being able to put up with a lot more junk than I
Yeah,
would want to. But as far as where that line is, uh,
I know exactly where that line is. Can I tell you where I think that line is?
sure. Is it where it's no longer worth the money?
I think that line is when you don't feel safe at a gig, leave. And
Oh
like, I
well,
think
yeah.
that like, yeah, no, but I'm serious. I think that's where the line is. I really think that, like, if you go to the show and the sound system is terrible, if they're telling you you have DI and not have monitors, if they're telling you, yeah, we know we told you we had 4 microphones, we only have one, you're all gonna have to share. If they're telling you you're supposed to go on first, but now you're gonna go on last, if we're running 2 hours late, like, I think in all of these, okay, so if they're running late and you have to like catch a plane, then yeah, like, tell them you have to bounce and explain it. But because it's like what you said about reputation, is that it doesn't matter if everything went haywire. If the only person who's getting the word out about what happened is like that venue, and they're bad mouthing you to everybody because, like, oh, they were such divas. You're not going to get gigs. Play the gig, do your best. If you sound like crap, then it's the venue's fault, and you can explain to people that. And the only people who are ever going to know that were in the room, and they know exactly what's happening. I just think, don't call out bad sound during the show unless it's like constant feeding back, unless it's really really abhorrent. But if somebody is like being aggressive to you, if somebody in the crew is threatening you, if you're a woman and somebody in the crew is being an absolute creep, if you feel like like there's too many people there and it's a fire hazard, like if you feel like there's a safety issue, get the hell out. Don't play the show. But everything else, I hate it. I hate it. I hate that this is part of it. But like, you got to play that show. I mean, even if you're like getting paid a pittance, like, you have to. I firmly believe that for the sake of like getting in front of potential bad reputation stuff, you should probably play the show.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear that. I think as I was listening to you speak, the question that comes to mind, or not question, the consideration that jumps to mind is there's a lot of unspoken and unacknowledged expectations in terms of what people want to get out of a gig, why they're there. And I think you've really got to ask yourself, why am I here? And for a lot of people, it's to build your reputation, build your name, make some new fans, so on and so forth. And so even if it's uncomfortable because of any technical issues, backing out of it, if that's going to end up being anti or against an unproductive for what your goal actually is, I think that's when you guys say, you know what, I got to stick true to remind myself why I'm here, why I'm doing this. And then and I think for a lot of
Yeah.
situations why people are out gigging, then that math adds up pretty quickly to this sucks, but I got to keep doing this because this is why I'm here.
Yeah. I also think that if you go to a gig and it's something that's very against your personal values, then yeah, you can leave. If you showed up to you're a Christian, right?
I am.
If you showed up to my satanic bar for a gig, I would be like, if you want to not play that gig, it's cool. If I showed up to a gig and I realized the venue just had like all these posters objectifying women, this racist stuff and this Nazi stuff, I'd be like, I'm leaving right now.
Or you could do
But
the
that's
super
just
punk
such.
thing and get on stage and then talk mad junk.
Do I want to die? Because I'm thinking of people who are going to
You
that.
might not have a chance to carry your amp out of the venue, but you know.
Yeah. That's true. I don't want to die. So that's my take on it. Is like, truly, for the most part, I've played shows where we didn't have a monitor and I had a DI, and even though I'd called beforehand to like make sure it would work, it didn't work, and it was the worst show I've ever played in my life. And it was because I couldn't hear myself. It was because I got flustered because I couldn't hear myself. It was because everybody got flustered because they couldn't hear me, and it was also everybody got flustered because at one point I got turned off. Ah,
Oh,
it was an accident. I know it was an accident. It's just like someone bumped the thing on the mixing board, and I I was not there anymore. It was really not a great situation.
while we are on the topic, I think it's very safe to say that in no circumstance being a dick to the sound guy is ever going to help your
Oh
cause.
no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no.
My default, even if I know that the sound guy's being a prick, is to like, don't piss off the sound guy. Don't be mean to him. There's other stuff going on. Chances are they're just really stressed and waiting for the next smoke break. I
Yeah.
mean, cut him a break, but chewing him out, or I saw this video of who it was, Ronnie Radke, metalcore guy, and he was front man for this band, and he was upset with the sound guys. He walked over to the flown PAs and just started smashing his mic on them. He's like all upset, throwing a hissy fit, like, "No, what are you doing? That is not helping anything right now." He's like, "Why isn't it working?" Like smacking his mic on it. It's like, "I don't hear anything." Like, because they just muted you to prevent colossal feedback. Is
Yeah, I think the first thing you do when you show up for a gig is you should find the sound person. You should introduce yourself to them. You should remember their name. And you should say, "What do you need from me? What do you have any questions? If you have anything weird about your rig, tell them right there. Hey, my guitar, it's a DI situation, so I just need an XLR output, and everything else is
Right.
up to you, friend.
I mean, just general
So,
etiquette rules
yeah,
apply 100%.
yeah. So
All right. So what's our next
before
question? Hit me.
I
Hit me. I'm on a roll.
before I want to remind everyone that all of these questions were presented by people who support us on Patreon. So if you want the chance to contribute to our episodes in the future, go to patreon.com/getoffset. Donate between 1, 5, 10 for $25 a month. I will write you a song. No one has taken me up on that. I write lovely music. That's your loss. Uh, uh, but yeah, so for it will add you to the super secret group chat we have on Facebook. It's some of my favorite people. It's a fun chat, and you can have a lot more input into what happens on this here podcast.
Oh, absolutely. Got direct access to us, potentially when we're at work.
Yes.
Uh,
I'm always at work. I'm a freelancer. So the next question is finding background gigs like open house stuff. I think I told you all, everyone on the podcast, definitely everyone in the group chat, that I played at an open house and made bank at it. It was my highest paying gig of my career. I'm 30 years old. I've been playing since I was 8. um and how to get those. So what do you want to contribute to this, Andrew?
my contribution to this is going to be fairly minimal given my lack of experience, but going off of kind of an intuitive read on the situation, the reality is you've got to be able to promote outside standard venues to get those non-standard gigs. So just going through local promoters and local scene will get you a lot more of those standard gigs and maybe a couple off the beaten path, but especially like unconventional and high paying gigs, no one's going to be sharing those out, especially if it's for like a single performer. You got to reach out and I'm not going to say shamelessly promote to every corner of whatever community you're a part of, but it definitely does not hurt to do so to a degree. Maybe push the envelope a little bit with who you're promoting to. Think outside of the box. Think, is there anybody outside of the conventional local venues who could use live performer, and kind of run with that?
Do you want to know how I got that gig?
Yes.
Through a booking agent.
What?
I had someone serving as essentially a booking agent. There's a community in Facebook called Women in Music. It's technically national, international, but it's very focused in Seattle right now, just because that's where the people who started it are. And the woman who runs it is trying to widen the scope of people who want to book musicians and to try to, or finding any booking opportunities and trying to get women in these roles, because so much of music really is about networking. I don't know if your shotgun approach would work, just because, like, especially for open house things, um, because that's very weird and rare. Essentially, what I was doing was a cocktail party gig. Uh, so that is actually quite a traditional thing of playing. It's like playing a wedding. I think that what would help is, if this is really what you want to do, if you really want to play specifically like cocktail music, you need to invest in a website that has good SEO. So if somebody types in like jazz guitar cocktail party Seattle, then maybe you pop up as somebody who's available. The American Federation of Musicians, the Musicians Union, has local chapters. People are always asking them about gigs. And who gets the first crack at these gigs? Union members. So if that's something that you want to do, if you want music to be your career, and if you're not afraid to play like a bookshop or an open house or anything else, because these are the places where reaching out to somebody who needs a musician once a year at most is not going to get you gigs. Working with the people who are kind of the conduits, the proxies for that, that's how you get those gigs. You get them because somebody needs a musician once a year. I don't know how to find musicians. I Google, how do I find musicians? How do I book musicians in Seattle? Look to see who is ranking well for that because again, this is where people are going. People are this I think about how people research things these days. See who's ranking well for that. If it's your local musicians union, reach out to them. If it's something else, that's what you have to do. It's really very and then from there it becomes relationship driven. Um so that's not going to help you get I just don't think that a shotgun approach of like reaching out to all these different people would necessarily work, like especially for like an open house thing. Like there's probably thousands of realtors in Seattle and probably a dozen of them would ever think to afford or pay for musicians in their open houses. I just don't think that'd be the best use of the time. I think that the better use of the time is uh, connecting with the people who do book these shows. And if you're at a cocktail party, you see someone playing, ask them like, "Hey, how did you get this gig?" If they say, "Oh, it was through my website," "Oh, it was through," if it's a wedding like thing, like it was through that website, The Knot, that has list of wedding vendors. Uh, you have to put yourself out there in ways that people can find you when they're looking because that's the difference between push and pull marketing. What you were talking about is push marketing, where you push it out there, you push it out there. Pull marketing is like putting yourself in places that people will look for you.
Well, if I was capable of doing so, I would be eating my shirt right now, and happily so. That would be a little weird, but for the
I'm just saying I disagree with the tactic. I don't think I think that it would be a lot of work
I
for a
don't
lower dollar.
think that's a I don't think you're terribly wrong. So, all right, hit me with another question. I need a chance to redeem myself here.
um
Need to pick my peel myself off the floor.
the next one is bruised egos from other bandmates when you play more than one like basically dealing with egos in bands.
Interesting. Well,
I think this was Jim.
given that I'm always the best member of a band, no, I'm kidding.
We know.
I would say, first of all, number one rule is don't trash talk people with bruised egos behind their backs. If someone's like kind of being passive aggressive about it or whatever, and they leave the room, be like, "Wow, like what the heck did you hear what he said to me?" Like that, it's not the best form. It's not going to do anything to help prepare that. Uh, so I'd say that's number one. Number two, ultimately,
Can I talk?
bruised egos not your responsibility.
Can we talk about that number one though? Because I think that
All
might
right,
be
hit me. All
no,
right,
no, Mike. Like, so, I've done cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm not. I feel like maybe you have too. I don't know, but part of what they talk about is if someone says something to you or doesn't say something to you, like your perception of something that someone else says is maybe not rooted in fact or like how they actually thought or how they meant to be. So, like giving people, in the Christian phrases, a little bit of grace or just a pass and maybe be like, well, maybe they don't hate me. Maybe it's not personal. Maybe it's not even about me. Maybe they're having a bad day. Uh, I mean, that doesn't necessarily go to trash talking, but I do think it can be beneficial to, like, if someone is really acting out in a band in a way that you think is real and serious, I kind of think you should bring that up with your other band members, if not to say, like, hey, I don't know if this is just me and my own insecurities, but were you getting this vibe? I think is a totally fair thing to ask other bandmates.
right. That is different than trash talking, though.
Right.
Trash talking is a very different
I think
dynamic.
instead of trash talking, you should just see if like someone else can validate the experience that you think that you had.
Yeah, that's definitely an option you can take with it. I do think one of the once you kind of get a firm grip on what's going on, I think definitely going to that person directly and privately, be like, "Hey, did I do something to piss you off? Like, what's going on here? I don't know what I did to upset you, but I'm getting some strong upset vibes. Help me out here, buddy. Like, what's going
Yeah.
on? Am I missing
Yeah.
something? Is there something going on with you personally?" And just extend the friendship, the olive branch, the benefit of the doubt, and in my experience with that kind of conflict, 90, 85, 90% of the time, it really is that they were upset about something else. They took it out on you. It just kind of is what
Yeah,
it is. And you walk away from that conversation with a much better understanding. And then after that, if they lash out, they don't respond to that well, and that doesn't continue to go well. At that point, I would start going to the larger community, be like, hey guys, this is going on. I've already tried to speak with them directly. Anything we can do here?
yeah.
Should we have like a sit down band meeting? Be like, yo, dude, like, come on,
Mm,
like we're what do we need to do here? And just as a greater part of the community, that at a certain point when it just hits that full level of toxicity and nothing that the group as a whole is doing is able to do a whole lot to
right.
change that. At some point, you guys say, hey, look, we've been trying. It's time for you to
Yeah.
go. That's kind of my basic ground rules. Full disclosure, I do base that out of my personal faith beliefs because there is a passage in scripture, Matthew chapter 18, that does talk about conflict resolution. And that is a model that I tend to hold in my personal life. Regardless of whether or not it's tied to scripture, I do think that that particular layout seems to work really, really well. And I tend to really like how that plays out because of the way that that model offers really sincere benefit of the doubt and the ability to keep it give it a chance to sort out on the down low, and then with a follow-up of a community involvement where everybody's involved, where there's in further grace and benefit of the doubt extended, and then a final resolution where you're not tied down to this toxicity for forever, if that's really what it's going to
And if
be.
you're not interested in faith-based resolutions, I recommend a little book called Crucial Confrontations. It's the whole full title is Crucial Confrontations: Tools for Resolving Broken Promises, Violated Expectations, and Bad Behavior. I have used this book and the things within it in my personal life since college. I minored in leadership in college. Yeah, it's a really secular kind of version of that in a lot of ways.
Right, right. Well, I mean, I definitely see how it applies. I think if you're looking for a really simplified and kind of straightforward, hard to mess up model, there's this really great model called Live, Laugh, Love. And
Oh, Jesus, what? You're kidding.
I'm kidding, I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
Thank
I'm completely
God.
kidding.
I was about to kick you off the podcast. Eat it. No. So Crucial Confrontations is like three parts. Part one is work on me first. Part two is confront with safety. And part three is move to action. It also has the seven, something called the seven yeah buts, which I just think is funny. The seven yeah buts.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but yeah, no. Yeah.
but with one T or two T's. This is an important detail.
Just one T. I prefer two T's. My yeah buts.
Reasonable. Diplomatic even. All right, do we have a final question for this episode?
Not one that I particularly want to dig into because it's such a long thing that varies so much. It's something that I think Joe has asked us a bunch.
No, no, that no, no worries. I'm feeling a little my
Yeah,
filter's starting to engage. I think unfiltered time with Andrew is settling out, and I'm ready to go be a
yeah.
responsible
So
member of
Joe,
society once
we'll talk
again.
about songwriting some other time. We'll maybe bring somebody on specifically to talk about songwriting processes. Yeah,
Sounds
that
like a
sounds
plan.
better because I don't know about you, but like my songwriting process has changed so much from being a largely solo folky thing to
Agreed.
kind of an ambient thing to like writing with a band, which I think is kind of what she wants to talk about. But I don't know. I think we're going to do some writing tonight, so that might be something I go into it thinking about.
Well, until we have that episode, just in the meantime, default to assuming that you're better than everybody else and acting really upset when that turns out not to be true. I think that's the best way forward.
Oh yeah, you were going to talk about how other people's egos aren't your problem, but I think I kind of pulled us away from that a little bit. And they're not like
Yeah,
other people's problems aren't necessarily problems, but you know, maybe if it's somebody you want to be in a band with,
I got 99 problems, but my bandmate's ego isn't one.
well, you're not in a band, Andrew.
With that said, with that said,
I'm
I
sorry.
I
I
I
know
am most
that was my
definitively
turn to be mean. My turn to be mean. Right at the end.
I am
I'm sorry.
unfiltered Andrew.
I have lost my filter. I stopped giving fucks so long ago. I'm Emily. Thanks for listening. Thanks for understanding.
Bye.
Goodbye. Yeah. What's up, Michelle?